The conference room was too cold. Judd Park tugged at the sleeve of his blue diplomatic uniform, trying to look calm while his fingers felt like ice. Outside the tall windows of the United Earth Diplomatic Center, Seoul buzzed with its usual morning energy. But inside, everything was frozen. And not just because of the air conditioning. Across the long table sat 3 members of the Kralumi delegation. They weren't what most people would expect from alien visitors. No tentacles, no weird shapes. They looked almost human-like, with smooth gray skin and large almond-shaped eyes that seemed to change color when they moved. Their suits were crisp and pressed, looking more like expensive business attire than anything alien. The lead Kralumi representative, who had introduced himself as Coordinator Velik, spoke with a smooth, almost musical voice. Humanity's current developmental status requires immediate intervention, he said, his words carefully measured and cold. Jay watched carefully. At 28, he was the youngest diplomatic communication specialist in the room, but he had studied alien communication patterns for years. Something about Velik's tone made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Intervention? Asked Ambassador Helen Rodriguez, her voice sharp. Could you clarify what you mean by that? Velik's color-shifting eyes settled on her. Your planet is inefficiently managed. Resources are being wasted. Population distribution is unoptimized. The Kralumi Collective has identified your world as a candidate for systematic reorganization. The room went silent. Systematic reorganization. The words hung in the air like a threat. Jay's fingers moved quietly under the table, tapping a message into his secure communication device. Something wasn't right. The Kralumi weren't here for a friendly chat. They were here to deliver an ultimatum. And if we refuse? Ambassador Rodriguez asked, her voice steady. Velik's lips, if you could call them lips, curved into something that might have been a smile. Refusal is not a practical option. Another Kralumi representative, smaller and wearing a different style of suit, leaned forward. Your global energy consumption, agricultural practices, and technological development indicate a species that requires guidance. We are offering assistance. Jay knew bureaucratic language when he heard it. This wasn't assistance. This was a thinly veiled threat of conquest. During a short break, Jay managed to slip out of the main conference room. The hallway was lined with historical diplomatic photographs, images of first contacts, peace treaties, international agreements. He pulled out his secure tablet and began running some background checks. Something about the Kralumi data didn't make sense. Their diplomatic records showed a history of reorganizing at least 12 different planetary civilizations, but the details were always vague. Planets were listed as improved or optimized, but no specifics were provided. When he returned to the room, he noticed a data chip had been quietly placed near his folder. Protocol demanded he report it immediately, but something in his gut told him to keep it secret. The meeting continued. More demands, more smooth, emotionless language about planetary management and collective efficiency. Ambassador Rodriguez pushed back, asking detailed questions about their proposed reorganization. Velik's responses were always the same: vague, calculated, hiding something. As the meeting concluded, Jay watched the Kralumi delegates. They moved with an almost mechanical precision. Their eyes never seemed to blink, and beneath their calm exterior, Jay sensed something else. Fear. Not their fear, but a fear of something. A fear that made them need to control, to reorganize anything that seemed different or unpredictable. When the delegation left, Jay knew one thing for certain. This was not a diplomatic mission. This was the beginning of something much bigger. And humanity had no idea what was coming. The United Earth Defense Council chamber was quiet. Too quiet. General Hyun Kim stood at the center of the room, his weathered hands holding a digital tablet that displayed satellite images of approaching alien ships. They're coming, he said simply. Dr. Yoon Lee adjusted her glasses, her eyes moving between multiple holographic displays. Complex data streams flowed like digital rivers, showing the approaching Kralumi fleet. Not just coming, she corrected. They believe this will be simple. Around the table, military leaders, scientists, and government officials waited. The data chip J-Park had secretly collected was now plugged into the main system. Its contents had changed everything. The chip revealed something the Kralami never expected humans to know: detailed schematics of their invasion strategy. Not just military plans, but resource extraction protocols, population management algorithms, and something even more chilling: previous planetary reorganizations. 12 worlds, Dr. Lee continued, her voice calm but intense. 12 different civilizations completely dismantled, not destroyed. Dismantled, like machines being taken apart and rebuilt according to the Kralami's perfect design. General Kim nodded. His eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the room. We've been preparing, quietly, for decades. Most people didn't know about Earth's secret projects. While governments talked about peace and cooperation, military research centers and advanced technology labs had been working on something special. Not just weapons, something more. Adaptive technologies, quantum computing networks that could think faster than any known system, modular space defense platforms that could reconfigure themselves in milliseconds, weapons that weren't just about destruction, but about intelligent, precise intervention. Our first line of defense is already in place, said Colonel J-Park, bringing up a holographic model of the solar system. Tiny blue dots represented defense satellites and mobile platforms positioned strategically around Earth's orbital zone. Dr. Lee zoomed into one of the platforms. Adaptive shield technology, she explained. Each platform can analyze incoming weapons signatures and generate a specific defensive response. It's not just blocking, it's learning. The room was filled with a mix of tension and something else: excitement. Preparation. The feeling that humanity was about to show something the universe had never seen before. The Kralami think we're primitive, General Kim said, a rare smile crossing his face. They think we're like the other worlds they've reorganized. They don't understand us. J-Park, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. They see efficiency, numbers, calculations, but they don't see what makes us human. Adaptability. Creativity. The ability to turn a weakness into a strength in ways no logical system could predict. The first Kralami ships would arrive in less than 72 hours, but they weren't arriving to a surprised, unprepared planet. They were arriving to a world that had been waiting, watching, preparing. In research labs across the planet, scientists were running final tests. In orbital platforms, AI systems were running complex battle simulations every second. In military bases, soldiers were checking equipment that looked more like advanced scientific gear than traditional weapons. They want to reorganize us, Dr. Lee said, her fingers dancing across a holographic keyboard. Let's show them what human reorganization looks like. The defense platforms began to hum, soft at first, then with a growing intensity that seemed to vibrate through the entire room. Each platform was not just a weapon. It was a brain, a learning, adapting, thinking brain. General Kim looked at the assembled team. Military, scientific, diplomatic, the complete picture of human potential. They're going to regret, he said quietly, declaring war on the wrong species. Outside the window, the first hint of alien ships appeared, tiny, distant points of light in the darkness of space. They were coming. Humanity was ready. The blackness of space looked different when something was about to happen. Captain Min-Seo Choi knew this feeling. Her hands, steady on the control panel of the experimental defense ship Hawk 1, felt the tiny vibrations that meant something big was coming. Incoming Kralami fleet, her navigation officer reported. His voice was calm. Too calm for a first alien encounter. Min-Seo's ship was different. Not just another military vessel. It was a test platform. Something the Kralami knew nothing about. Adaptive hull. Quantum communication systems. Weapons that could think almost as fast as the humans controlling them. The first Kralamy ships appeared. They were beautiful in a cold, mathematical way. Smooth, perfect geometric shapes that looked more like moving sculptures than weapons of war. Each ship moved with precise, calculated movements. They expected surrender. All defense platforms, Min-Seo called into her communication system, prepare adaptive response protocols. The space around Earth's orbital zone began to change. Defense satellites that looked like nothing more than small metal cubes suddenly shifted, stretched, reconnected. They weren't just sitting there. They were thinking, analyzing, preparing. The Kralamy opened fire first. Energy weapons that had destroyed 12 different civilizations before. Bright blue-green beams that could slice through traditional metal hulls like paper. But these weren't traditional defenses. Min-Seo watched as the first energy beam hit one of the defense platforms. Instead of being destroyed, the platform changed. Its surface rippled, absorbed, analyzed. And then something unexpected happened. The platform fired back, not with a simple weapon, but with a targeted energy pulse that was a perfect counter to the Kralamy's original attack. "What the?" her weapons officer started to say. "Adaptive response," Min-Seo said simply. "We learn. We adapt." The Kralamy didn't understand. Their entire military strategy was based on overwhelming force, mathematical precision. But humans did something different. They turned problems into opportunities. More ships approached, hundreds of them. A wave of gray and silver that looked unstoppable. But they weren't fighting a traditional defense. They were fighting something they had never seen before. Each human defense platform worked like a living thing, connected, sharing information faster than light. When one platform was hit, the others immediately knew the exact frequency, the exact type of attack, and they adjusted, instantly. "Targeting system online," her weapons officer said. Min-Seo watched the holographic display. Red markers showed Kralamy ship positions, but these weren't just markers. Each one was a complex data point. Weakness, strength, potential movement. "Fire sequence Alpha Quantum," she commanded. The human ships moved, not in straight lines, not in predictable patterns. They danced, twisted, used planetary gravity, used solar wind, things no logical battle computer would ever consider. The first wave of Kralamy ships started to break. Not destroyed, but confused. Their perfect mathematical war machine was facing something that didn't follow any rules. Creativity, unpredictability, adaptation. Within 30 minutes, 40% of the Kralamy invasion force was disabled. Not destroyed. Disabled. Turned into floating metal boxes that couldn't fight back. Min-Seo didn't celebrate. This was just the beginning. "Send a message," she told her communication officer. "Make it simple." The message was broadcast on all Kralamy communication frequencies. 3 words. "We are ready." Back on Earth, in the Defense Command Center, General Hyun Kim watched the battle unfold. He turned to Dr. Yoon Lee and smiled. "They underestimated us," he said. Dr. Lee adjusted her glasses. "They always do." The Kralamy Central Command looked like a perfect machine. Smooth walls, clean lines, everything in its exact place. But today, something was wrong. Coordinator Roque stood in the center of the main decision chamber. His gray skin looked pale, paler than usual. The massive holographic displays showed the battle results from Earth's solar system. Numbers that made no sense. 40% of their invasion fleet. Gone. Not destroyed. Not defeated in the traditional way. Simply neutralized. Turned into useless metal floating in space. "This is impossible," said Sub-Coordinator Vex, his voice shaking. 12 worlds. 12 perfect reorganizations. And now this. Roque said nothing for a long moment. His color-shifting eyes moved across the data. Something was different about these humans. Something that broke all their mathematical models. Back on Earth, Jay Park was doing something the Kralmy would never expect. He was preparing a message. Not a weapon. Not a threat. Something more dangerous. In the United Earth Psychological Warfare Division, a team of experts worked quickly. Linguists, historians, cultural specialists. They were creating something special. We need to show them who we are, Jay told his team. Not just our technology, our spirit. The broadcast began, not on military channels, on every communication frequency the Kralny could access. First came music. Not perfect music, not mathematically precise music. Human music, jazz that broke its own rules, classical symphonies that told stories, rock music that screamed about freedom, traditional songs from every culture on Earth. Then came images, not military images, life images. A farmer in Brazil planting crops, a child learning to ride a bicycle in Tokyo, an artist painting in New York, firefighters saving a cat in Moscow, a scientist working late in a lab in Cape Town, musicians playing in a small bar in Seoul. Random, messy, beautiful. The Kralmy communication centers went silent. These weren't reports. These weren't tactical information. These were glimpses of life, of a species that couldn't be reduced to numbers, a species that lived beyond logic. In the Kralmy Command Center, something unprecedented happened. The perfect logical systems began to glitch. What is this? Vex demanded, his hands moving over control panels. Roke watched, studied. His entire life had been about perfect organization, perfect efficiency. But these humans, they were something else. The broadcasts continued. Stories of human history. Not just victories, failures too. Moments of incredible kindness. Moments of terrible conflict. Humans showing their complete, messy, beautiful complexity. A video of the moon landing. Humans looking up at stars, dreaming. A clip of the Berlin Wall falling. People hugging, crying, celebrating freedom. The Kralmy had conquered worlds by understanding their systems, by breaking them down, reorganizing them. But humans couldn't be broken down. They are a virus, Vex said suddenly. A complex, unpredictable virus. Roke finally spoke. No, he said quietly. They are something more dangerous. What? Vex asked. Alive, Roke responded. On Earth, Jay Park watched the transmission data. Millions of Kralmy communication nodes were receiving the broadcast, absorbing it. Something was happening that no one could predict. The Kralmy were learning about humanity, and they were becoming afraid. Not of human weapons, but of human spirit. The research facility looked ordinary from the outside, just another building in the massive complex outside Seoul. But inside, Dr. Yoon Lee was changing everything. Adaptive shield technology, she told her team, is just the beginning. Holographic displays filled the room, complex diagrams, spinning molecular structures, quantum mechanical models that seemed to move and breathe with their own life. The captured Kralmy technology sat in the center of the main lab. Not a weapon, not a ship component, but a small communication device that looked like nothing more than a metallic cube. Most scientists would study it carefully, slowly, carefully taking notes. Dr. Lee's team was different. Reverse engineering, she said, is an art form. Within hours, they began to understand. The Kralny believed in perfect systems, mathematical precision. But their technology had a fatal flaw. It was rigid, inflexible. Human technology was different. It adapted. It changed. We're not just copying, Dr. Lee explained to General Kim during a private briefing. We're improving. The manufacturing centers across Earth began to change. Factories that once made cars and computers now produce something else. Modular defense platforms, ships that could reconfigure themselves mid-battle, weapons that thought almost as fast as the humans controlling them. Speed was key. The Kralny expected a slow response. Humanity worked differently. In orbital shipyards, something new was taking shape. The first truly adaptive human warship, not just a weapon, a living system that could learn, adjust, survive. Captain Min-seo Choi watched the construction. Her experimental Hawk 1 had proven something important in the first battle. Humans could fight differently, could think differently. "We're not building a ship," she told her engineering team. "We're building a new way of thinking about space combat." The ship's core was revolutionary. Quantum processors that could make millions of calculations in microseconds. Adaptive hull that could change its molecular structure faster than an enemy could target it. Weapon systems that could predict and counter before an attack even happened. Back in the Kraloni Command Center, something was changing. The perfect, logical systems were beginning to show cracks. Coordinator Roke studied the data. Humans were doing something impossible. They were turning every defeat into a chance to learn. Every lost ship became a lesson. Every failed attack became a new strategy. "They are growing," Vex said, his voice filled with something new. Fear. Roke didn't respond. He was thinking. On Earth, the first faster-than-light capable strike ships began their initial tests. Not just fast, smart. Ships that could calculate complex jump sequences that no traditional navigation system could manage. Dr. Lee's team had discovered something in the Kraloni technology, a way to understand faster-than-light travel that was more than just mathematical calculations. It was about understanding the universe itself. "We're not just copying their technology," she told Japark during a late-night meeting. "We're reimagining it." Jay looked at the holographic displays, saw the complex networks, the adaptive systems, the ships that seemed almost alive. "They thought we were simple," he said quietly. Dr. Lee smiled, a sharp, dangerous smile. "They were wrong," she responded. The first of the new human ships rolled out of the orbital shipyard. It didn't look like a traditional weapon. It looked like a living thing. Ready, waiting, thinking. Humanity was preparing for something bigger than a war. They were preparing to show the universe exactly who they were. Jupiter's massive form hung in the background, a silent witness to what was about to happen. Captain Min-seo Choi stood on the bridge of the new strike ship Defiance. This wasn't just another military vessel. This was humanity's message to the universe. "Kraloni fleet approaching," her navigation officer reported. His voice was calm. Too calm for a massive space battle. The Defiance was different. Every system was alive, thinking, adapting. Where traditional ships had fixed components, this ship could change itself. Its hull could shift. Its weapons could learn. Its computer could predict enemy moves before they happened. "Tactical analysis," Min-seo commanded. Holographic displays filled the bridge. Red markers showed incoming Kraloni ships. But these weren't just markers. Each one was a complex data point. Weakness, strength, potential movement. The Kraloni didn't know what was coming. Their fleet looked perfect. Geometric shapes that moved with mathematical precision. Weapons that had destroyed 12 different civilizations. They expected another easy victory. They were wrong. "Adaptive response protocols," Min-seo said quietly. The Defiance began to change. Its outer hull shifted, molecular structures rearranged. Weapon systems that looked like nothing any military had ever seen before came online. The first Kraloni energy weapons fired. Bright blue-green beams that could slice through traditional metal hulls like paper. But the Defiance was not traditional. Its hull absorbed the first attack, studied it, understood it, and then something unexpected happened. The ship fired back, not with a simple weapon, but with a targeted energy pulse that was a perfect counter to the Kraloni's original attack. "Direct hit," her weapons officer reported. Enemy ship systems compromised. This wasn't just a battle. This was a demonstration. Humanity had been watching, learning. The Kraloni thought they understood warfare, mathematical precision, overwhelming force. But humans did something different. They turned problems into opportunities. Each human ship in the fleet worked like a living thing, connected, sharing information faster than light. When one ship was hit, the others immediately knew the exact frequency, the exact type of attack, and they adjusted, instantly. The Kralny fleet began to break, not destroyed, but confused. Their perfect mathematical war machine was facing something that didn't follow any rules. Creativity, unpredictability, adaptation. Min-Seo watched the battle unfold. This wasn't about destroying the enemy. This was about sending a message. We are not like the others you have conquered. The Defiance moved in ways no traditional ship could, using planetary gravity, solar winds, things no logical battle computer would ever consider. Prepare communication broadcast, she told her communication officer. As the battle reached its peak, a message was sent on all Kralny frequencies. Simple, clear. This is not your universe anymore. Back on Earth, in the Defense Command Center, General Hyun Kim and Dr. Yoon Lee watched the battle unfold. They're learning, Dr. Lee said, adjusting her glasses. General Kim nodded. Humans always do. The battle near Jupiter became more than just a military engagement. It was a statement, a declaration. Humanity had arrived, and the universe would never be the same. The Kralny home system looked perfect from space. Geometric cities, perfectly aligned planets, everything in exact order. J. Park studied the holographic maps. This wasn't going to be a destruction mission. This was going to be a message. Precision is key, he told the strike team commanders. The human fleet was unlike anything the Kralny had ever seen. Not massive, not overwhelming, but smart, adaptive. Each ship could think almost as fast as the humans controlling them. Dr. Yoon Lee had designed something special. Not just weapons, strategic intervention systems. We're not here to destroy, she explained during the final briefing. We're here to demonstrate. The first wave of human ships entered the Kralny system. They moved differently, not in straight lines, not in predictable patterns. They used solar winds, planetary gravity, things no logical battle computer would predict. Precision strikes began. Communication centers went dark, not destroyed, disabled, carefully, surgically. Transportation networks stopped working, not blown up, simply confused. Adaptive systems that could interrupt without total destruction. Power grids flickered, not crashed, just interrupted. The Kralny watched in horror as their perfect systems began to break down, not through violence, through something worse, unpredictability. J. Park monitored every communication channel. The psychological impact was more important than any physical damage. We can rebuild, the human message said. Can you? In the Kralny Central Command, Coordinator Roke watched the systems fail. Something he had never experienced before was happening. Uncertainty. The human ships didn't just attack. They showed something dangerous. Intelligence. Restraint. A choice. They could have destroyed everything. But they didn't. This was more terrifying than total destruction. Each targeted system showed the same pattern. Precise intervention. Careful disruption. A message written in technology. We are not like you. We are better. The human fleet moved like a living thing. Connected. Thinking. Sharing information faster than light. Military bases went silent. Not through explosions, through complex digital interference that made their own systems turn against them. Orbital platforms stopped working. Not destroyed. Confused. They're showing us something, Vex said to Roke, his voice shaking. Roke said nothing. He was thinking, learning. Back on the human ships, Captain Min-Seo Choi watched the operation unfold. This isn't about winning a battle, she told her crew. This is about changing how war works. Each strike was calculated, each intervention designed to show capability without total destruction. The message was clear. Humanity could destroy the Kralny completely. But they chose not to. As quickly as they arrived, the human ships began to leave, leaving behind a system that was broken, but not destroyed, just changed. Japark's final transmission was simple. Next time, choose your enemies more carefully. The universe watched. Something had changed. A new player had arrived. And nothing would be the same again. The negotiation room was silent. J. Park sat on the human side of the table. Across from him, Coordinator Roke and Sub-Coordinator Vex looked like they had already lost everything. In many ways they had. "Your terms," Roke said quietly. His voice was different now. No longer perfect. No longer certain. Joe looked calm. Too calm for someone negotiating with a species that had conquered 12 different worlds. "Complete withdrawal," he said simply. "Full technology exchange, and a formal apology." The Kralomi looked broken. Their perfect systems had failed. Their mathematical certainty had been destroyed by something they couldn't understand. Humanity. Dr. Yumli sat next to Ja. Her tablet displayed detailed reports of the Kralomi system's current state. Not destroyed. Just disrupted. Perfectly. Carefully. "You could have killed us," Vex said suddenly. His voice was strange. Something between fear and respect. Jay didn't smile. "We're not like you," he responded. The negotiation wasn't just about this moment. It was about sending a message to the entire universe. Humanity was different. Not violent, not destructive, but dangerous in a way no one had ever seen before. Adaptive, unpredictable, intelligent. "Our technological exchange will be limited," Jay continued. "Specific areas, carefully controlled." Roke looked at the human delegation. They weren't celebrating. They weren't showing anger. They were professional, calm. This was worse than any victory. The Kralmi had conquered worlds through mathematical precision, by breaking down civilizations into systems, by reorganizing them like machines. Humans were not a machine. They were something else. "We want 3 things," Jay said, sliding a digital document across the table. 1. Complete removal from Earth's solar system. 2. Full disclosure of previous planetary interventions. 3. Technology exchange in specific scientific domains. The document was simple, clear. No complex language. No hidden meanings. Just a clear statement of human intent. Dr. Yumli added one more thing. A small tablet that showed something the Kralni didn't expect. A complete analysis of their own technology. Not just a report. A breakdown that showed every weakness, every limitation. Humans had studied the Kralni more deeply than the Kralni had ever studied any civilization. "You thought we were simple," General Hyun Kim said from the side of the room. "You were wrong." Roke looked defeated, but something else was there too. Respect. The negotiations continued. Hours passed, but the outcome was never in doubt. Humanity had changed everything. Not through total destruction, not through violence, but through something more powerful. Intelligence, adaptability, choice. As the final documents were signed, J. Park looked out the window. The universe looked different now. Humanity had arrived. And nothing would ever be the same again. 5 years after the Kralomi incident, Earth looked different. The cities had changed. The people had changed. Something fundamental had shifted in human society. J. Park stood on the observation deck of the United Earth Space Station. Below him, Earth looked peaceful, beautiful, strong. The war, if you could call it a war, had done something unexpected. It had united humanity in a way nothing else ever had. No more fighting between countries. No more small conflicts. The human race had looked into the universe and realized something important. We are not alone. And we are not weak. Dr. Yoon Lee's research centers were now the most important scientific institutions on the planet. Technology was advancing faster than anyone could have imagined. Not just military technology. Everything. Medical research, energy production, space exploration. The technology exchange with the colony had been carefully managed. Specific areas, controlled access, but even those limited exchanges had pushed human understanding forward by decades. We learned something. General Hyun Kim told a group of young space cadets. Humanity is not about destruction. We're about potential. Captain Min Seo Choi now led the most advanced space exploration fleet in human history. The ships were no longer just weapons. They were living systems. Adaptive, intelligent. The first long-range exploration missions were preparing to leave the solar system. Not to conquer, not to fight, but to understand. The colony had become something different too. Their perfect society had been broken, rebuilt, changed. They now understood something fundamental about the universe. Some species cannot be controlled. Some spirits cannot be broken. J. Park received a diplomatic communication. Another alien civilization was watching, studying, wondering. What would humanity do next? The answer was simple. Anything we want. Earth had become more than a planet. It was a symbol, a message to the universe. Do not underestimate us. Scientific research centers were working on technologies that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. Quantum communication systems, adaptive medical technologies, energy systems that could reshape entire planetary ecosystems. The Defiance, the first truly adaptive warship, was now a museum piece, but its technology had changed everything. We are not defined by our ability to destroy, Dr. Yoon Lee would tell their students. We are defined by our ability to understand, to adapt, to grow. The space around Earth was different now. Defense platforms that looked like living things. Exploration ships that could think almost as fast as humans. Communication networks that spanned entire star systems. Humanity had become something new, a species that had looked into the face of a seemingly impossible enemy and done the unexpected. We survived. We learned. We grew. Joe Park looked at the communication from the new alien civilization. They were careful, watching, wondering. Would humanity be a threat? Would humanity be a friend? The answer was simple. We are human, and we are something entirely new. As the sun set over Earth, something was clear. The universe would never be the same again. Humanity had arrived, and this was just the beginning.